Good evening, everybody. Ram, bam, how y'all doing out there? So, we got to check in. And so for today, March 16th, I'm going to start y'all off with a quote, and it is God laid down the law saying, if you want some good, get it from yourself. This is by Epictetus. Again, happy Social Workers Month, happy Women's History Month, and all the other good things that are happening. The other day was Pi Day, and all those good things are happening. So, since we are a few minutes late, we just gonna go ahead and get this thing started. To all of my new subscribers that I have, I thank y'all very, very much. All of the new engagement that I have had, people get worked up and all riled up and ready to get it in when we talking about Dr. Umar Johnson. That is a subject matter right there, all of its own. So I'm like at 168 subscribers. So once I make it to 170, the person who is the 170th subscriber, as long as you have a public profile that I know who you are, in partnership with Rob Naylor of what's his new site? Relax. I want to relax.com. We will get together and I will get you a smell good from his website, either a room spray or something. Just when we get there, subscriber number 170, public, let me know who you are. All right, so we're going to go on ahead and get this thing started. So I'm going to bring in my husband, Amir. All right. So, Amir, my video responding to, I hear your echo up here. Responding to the two videos that people have made about Dr. Umar Johnson and his daughter. And then someone else made a video talking about how she met him for lunch and he was very, I'm just going to say regular guy. He was a regular guy. Talking about her booty and all this other stuff. She was basically just seconding that he has two children. That's basically all I got out of the video. But people were pretty riled up and had some things to say. And we have previously engaged in a conversation about whether he is a con artist or not, because he has been collecting funds from people for a great number of years, and this school has yet to be seen. And we talked about whether that's important or not. And should people even care? Should they be paying attention? How do we properly hold him accountable? And does his message even still matter? And so now that this has come out that he hasn't been taken care of, it hasn't even been involved in his daughter's lives, he cannot spread this message of strengthening the Black community and the Black family when he hasn't been doing it himself. So this is where we are. This is what brings us today. This is where my video has actually, I can't even say viral, but I mean, for me, it's viral. It's got more than 10 views. So where are we wanting to go with this? Because people have had a lot to say. There are some people who agree with me, like it doesn't matter any of that. He has a message, and that message is important. That's what we care about, not his personal life. We shouldn't be condemning him. He's still a man. And then there are those who are still like his personal life does matter, because he is out here spreading this message and he is not living that life. He is a hypocrite. I am done. You can unpause.
Oh, I thought you was gonna set me up with something.
No.
Nothing.
It's your
turn. You gonna give me nothing? Any
comments? No. What say you? Where do you think? Where do you stand on this about his personal life versus his message.
I told you, like I do understand people's perspective, saying, "My man's out here doing some other wild stuff." Uh, that that he can't be the one to carry the message, and like I do get that argument, right? And that's an argument to be said. Uh, at the same time, the question still is his message legit, right? We can separate the individual from the message. If the message is legit, I think we have to say that. Is that a legit message, or is that not a message that we should necessarily be following as a community? Now we can also deal with him and some of his antics, and I think we should have kind of two distinct things, because what happens is if someone puts out a good message, but they're not the best messenger. There are a lot of people who advocate throwing everything away. Usually, those individuals who advocate that have some other ulterior motive, so they're fine with us getting rid of a good message. But if it is the hypocrite cannot be the one who carries the message, then we have no message at all. Then, because just about everyone has been a hypocrite.
Hmm.
It's, and so I think we trap ourselves when we put such a high bar amongst the people that are closest to us, and we don't necessarily hold that bar the same for other people who are giving us this trash message. Everybody uses Twitter. Everybody uses Facebook, right? And yeah, there's some people who are boycotting, right? But there's still about 3.8 billion Facebook accounts. And so we don't necessarily agree with Mark Zuckerberg, and it's the same thing. What is Twitter around, like, almost 4 billion Twitter accounts or whatever. People not necessarily agreeing with Elon Musk, yet they're using this platform. So we find ways to separate ourselves from the messages and the product of other people. But then when it comes to, like, black folks, somehow we have this almost impossible standard to hold.
Yeah. And so you and I talked about it, and I mean, I guess we can't slowly go into it as we don't have much others here. You talked about holding the folks, the parishioners, the church folks accountable and politicians accountable. Um, and people don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm all about, like, yo, if they're gonna be, if they're gonna say they represent a group, or they're gonna carry a certain message, then we should have those same standards, because there's been a lot of people that's been letting the black community down, way before Dr. Umar ever showed up on the scene, and so I'm like, all right, okay, yeah, that dude's out there talking spicy to other women, like offline or whatever, when he's supposed to be meeting them under a different reason. If that's true, I mean, that's crazy. Um, and he should be right. We should have that discussion with him. But there's a lot of people we should be having a discussion with. When someone says they're going to take on the mantle and for all black people, and people are giving them resources, right? People don't like to hear, but we have given religious institutions a whole lot of money, um, and there's an expectation. Like there was a point, right, that where the black church was not to be messed with. It was a powerful institution, and then it became something else. And those churches that are doing like that groundwork, those churches, they're getting buried. The ones who are out there showing up, looking out for people, feeding people when they can't be fed, and asking for nothing in return, other than that they know they have taken care of a fellow human. Those churches are not getting the notoriety. These other ones are, that people are giving millions to, and
Yeah.
that the return is not happening the way that it should.
And then even with that, when you said, I do not know if I actually heard, because of course, right? I do not be following. I don't be following people, but I don't think that I really heard of what Bishop T.D. Jakes, like what did he do? Like what did his church do with like whatever all the money and stuff that was raised, all the things. I don't think I actually heard of the good that was done, but I definitely heard when he fell from grace.
And I'm certain,
I'm not
right?
sure I heard of all of the things that Kurt Franklin did. I mean, we know about the music, like we know, but we definitely heard when he fell from grace because people be looking for that one person. But yeah, they don't be holding them up.
Yeah, right, and it's weird sometimes when we talk about the church because it's a redemption based organization. So people are going to fall, right? And I'm not saying that you again. I'm not saying throw TD Jakes away or Kirk Franklin, throw them away. But before we got to those points, there are a lot of people that knew some of the activities that was necessarily happening, and 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 where was the accountability before that? If people are like that, but again, when they did fall, we did do exactly that. People start tossing them to the side, and I'm like, we have such a high standard, and I'm not saying they should be the necessary leaders of the group, but tossing people to the side. It's just a weird thing that we do within the African American community, and we just don't hold that standard for other organizations that are manipulating us, taking funds from us. Um, we don't uh, everything that's going on from a political standpoint in this country that should be going viral.
Yeah,
But most people don't understand what's happening. They're like, yeah, he's a they're talking about the president. He's a person to get it done. And I feel people with the frustration of the government, man. They're just like, come on, fix the street already. Um, but there is always a trade off. Yes, you got a person who's getting it done, um, but it sets the precedent in the manner in which it's getting done. The precedent is being set of how the next person can get it done. And then people are just going to be sitting there crying and whining. It's like, no, y'all. Every president came. That these last like 4 or 5 presidents have set the standard of abusing their power. And it is, and every time you push it a little bit further, the next person says, "Well, that's the standard. I'm going to push it a little bit further." I would like if those type of videos that we can talk about that, right? People say, "Oh, well, I'm not into politics," but they make 100+ videos about Dr. Umar, comment about Dr. Umar. And I'm like, that dude is, yes, he's talking about the black folks, but his actions, for the most part, do not impact African Americans. If he disappeared tomorrow, no one would necessarily know. They
right.
wouldn't feel the impact of it. But this other stuff, we are feeling the impact of it, and we just don't talk about it in the same manner in which we talk about these scandals and everything else. I'm like, bro, we're getting our behinds handed to us politically, and
Yeah,
that's not scandalous. Like,
right.
there's nobody engaged on that, and so
Yeah,
I don't know. It's
like you
kind
were
of
saying
frustrating.
about what's the dude name? Tim the black senator. What you said?
So, oh, Tim Scott or whatever.
Yeah, Tim Scott. Yeah, like you were saying about him. He is impacting us every day, and with people not realizing too, like I've said in other videos, but people, you all are not realizing how you all, your lack of vote, your politician is affecting our lives here in DC. Like just because DC is in a state, y'all's politicians and stuff come here in DC and affect us literally. So whatever Umar Johnson is personally doing and trying to change your mindset to do better for others, it has no comparison on what folks are doing that's like affects us in DC every day.
And so somebody will hear that, right? And that's the odd part. People will hear that what you just said. Hey, the politicians that you have elected come to DC, and because of DC's uniqueness in the country, that those Congress people and senators have a direct impact on the city because they DC is partly funded through mostly funded through appropriations that come from these particular bills, right? The city generates its own funds, but there's some appropriations that come out of the bill. And so those congresspersons, senators can manipulate that along with the president. Um, and so people will hear that and go, bro, that's not my problem, right? And I feel them. So why do we make 100+ videos about Dr. Umar if someone that doesn't really affect you and it doesn't truly impact you, that's not your problem either. Like I don't know how we get pulled into those things. In fact, what's happening with TD Jakes? If that church got in trouble, I'm not gonna lie, it doesn't necessarily affect me. Um, right? So there's always right. People see a disconnect and they go, "That's not my problem." But as a culture, we don't hold that being. We don't make that consistent. We say certain things that have impact are not our problems, but things that do not have impact, we make it go viral within our community,
Yeah.
and just never really figure out why we do that. We go, we're not. I'm not political. Of course, you're political. If you buy stuff, if you click on things, you are political because they use that data to help them target voting and come up with national strategies of how to target certain communities to get them to either not show up to the polls or show up to the polls. So unless you live off the grid and you do nothing to contribute that, you are part of the political system. They have ensured that you're going to be a part of the political system.
Hmm.
Always is either through your data, through your funds, through your direct voting or lack of voting. So if you can escape one of those things, you can escape all three. That's amazing. Most people cannot escape all three. So you are part of the political system, like it or not.
Yeah. What about so when we talk about somebody, we as a people needing a leader, um, yeah, like you were just saying in the political system, right? And so whether we agree with Elon and Elon and them, but people are still frequenting or using their Facebook, their Instagram, still going to like McDonald's and things like that. Uh, I forgot where I was going. I was going somewhere. I was going somewhere. Needing a leader. Um, I don't know, but I'm gonna move on to something else. Um, so the message not being good. So I was thinking because I had responded once about uh, so whether Umar is a deadbeat dad or not, right? That means he cannot talk about strengthening the black family. But I said to someone, There was a time where with Malcolm X, right, he started questioning uh, the Elijah Muhammad, the prophet Elijah Muhammad, because of the things that he was doing. But does that make the message that's going out towards the Muslims wrong? No. And he is one person. And did he ever fall from grace? And even Malcolm X himself, did he ever fall from grace? No. But why do we need one leader? And then who even said that Dr. Umar Johnson was the leader? Did he say that?
Yeah,
I he
I
took his
just
own horn, but he didn't say that.
uh, that's what I'm talking about. That's the oddity. Um, because we look at a lot of it's celebrities, right? And that's what we get caught up in. We get caught up in the ones who go viral, the ones who are on TV, right? And so when you just look at across the black community, there are individuals who are putting in work in many different areas, and we don't really pay attention to them, and neither do they care to necessarily be highlighted because they're just saying, "Hey, I'm out here doing the work."
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't remember his name right now, but he was the one of the first NBA billionaires, black basketball player,
Black billionaire?
huh?
You said black billionaire?
Black billionaire, NBA.
Oh,
He just passed away last week. Um, but and so not LeBron, not Michael Jordan, right? This guy did it out of the mud. And I look right. I can't remember his name right now, but they had talked about him beforehand because he was doing a lot of business with Magic Johnson, and that right. He's not. He wasn't a famous NBA player. Thus, when he left the NBA, right, there's no people are not following him. But Magic would tell you, LeBron would tell you, all Jordan, all these jokers like this dude was rich way before us, right? He's wealthy.
Junior
Um,
Bridgman.
Junior, yeah, Junior. Um, he right, he's and guess what? He was doing it for his community. You listen to his interviews. He was doing it for his community, right? But people weren't paying attention to him because he's not quote unquote famous, but he's doing the work, and you can see that across. Like we have a lot of black physicists and astronauts and generals that people just don't know about because they're quiet. Right, we got all these individuals across our whole spectrum. Right, we got leaders in all of these different communities doing work, all the way down to right. How many great leaders we probably can point back to that was just part of our little league systems.
Mm-hmm.
Like these individuals been out there doing the work, or community organizers that's been doing the work. We have enough leaders. What we tend not to have is enough followers.
Ooh.
And so because we all taught, that's the thing that's taught to all of us is to be a leader. Right? There's black communities that's
Ooh.
it's we got leadership all over because you have to be in this type of community. But when it comes time to get people to do something, that's where things start to go sideways because everybody wants to be a leader. You can see it in our rap. It's hard to get rappers together because all of them want to be number one, right? But and we won't allow multiple number ones, right? We're gonna push it to where only one can be it. We won't allow multiple number ones, and so it's just the way that we are organized in our community that kind of gets us in trouble. And so what happens is someone ends up picking a leader for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. Right. Barack Obama was impressive. Man, how many Barack Obamas do we actually know? There's a lot of impressive individuals
Yeah.
that's been doing the work, but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's some things that we have to kind of work out collectively I like a centralized planning. We all got an idea, right? This is Air Force 101. Centralized planning, but decentralized execution. Everybody gonna do the thing a little bit different. So how they're gonna do it out in Cali is gonna be much different than how they do it in Georgia. But we could have the same ideas and goals. Not everybody's going to look the same,
Yeah.
but we can have the same ambitions and goals.
Ooh, you said a thing too about not everybody wants to follow.
Yeah.
So even when we talked before about why are there so many churches in the black community, right? Everybody wants to be the pastor. Everybody wants to do it their own way, and then everybody not even wanting to wait their turn in their time. Yeah, you just said a thing. And then also, when I was listening on a Sirius XM about um, like buying a McDonald's or whatever a fast food chain, buying a fast food chain. Why is it that our people would rather do that as opposed to all of us coming together and helping build up a black owned business like others do, right? You have the one other family, they come and they only serve each other, they only buy from each other and help build that up so that the next business can get started. Why do we struggle with that?
So the entrepreneurial spirit, right? So I like to make a distinction. The entrepreneurial spirit is alive in all of these communities,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm not going to put one community's entrepreneurial spirit above another. Where it changes is um, if you let's like take a El Salvadorian restaurant. The difference is with that El Salvadorian restaurant, it may be one restaurant per 2 miles, right? You're not going to see seven El Salvadorian restaurants clustered together, right? And so that means all of these El Salvadorians can come to one location, right? And so visually, it looks like they're supporting. It's just that they only got one. They're not doing a bunch. Um, what happens with us is we do the copy and paste maneuver. One person opens it up, and then nine other people open stuff like right up next to it. So you'll have like six barbershops within a 1 mile radius. You'll have right there on Rhode Island. We did the count, right? There's like 17 churches in a 2 mile radius. It's a 2 mile strip. It's 17 churches, right? And you got churches like sometimes back to back, right? And we got churches like almost three churches within 100 feet of each other in one spot. And so, right, if everybody is doing that, and I understand the strategy is try to contact everybody, but the energy gets spread thin, and so if everybody is learning how to be a beautician and everybody is opening up a business like right next to each other, I call it's the Avon effect. After a while, you run out of people to sell to,
Mm-hmm.
and so in the end, everything starts to collapse because there's nothing strong enough to kind of maintain it. The money is being spread too thin. Thus, people get tired of that and start going to other people for business.
Yep. And even when you say something, I also was thinking about when we have opinions too. So just to take it back to Dr. Umar specifically, real quick. Whatever their YouTube channel is that Remy Ma is a part of, uh, the main host was suggesting to Dr. Umar Johnson that perhaps he should get some help, He should probably get help because he's just not good with finances, and because other people have actually started a school and been successful. Okay, so apparently Dr. Umar Johnson did not want any help. I think that also when people decide that they want to give advice to people, that they have to also understand, because as we've talked about, like, is the help that you're offering, is it actual help? Is it help that person, or does it help you, and does it feel good to you so that you can say you offered the help? Because the his father-in-law, whom he was describing, his father built a school on church grounds. Well, Dr. Umar doesn't want to hear about that because he's not trying to build he's not trying to build a school on church grounds. His situation is different. Now, should he have the big head and act like he don't need no help from nobody? Nah, he shouldn't. He should be open. He should be open to receiving help from people and advice from people. But I know you and I have talked about before. It's like, who is offering me help? Who are you that's telling me that I need help?
Yeah, but I think this it's just the spirit of this conversation that we're having right now. The person that might be right, if you're driving on New York Avenue and there is a homeless fella, right, and he comes up and asks for money, you don't have it, but then he says to you, make sure you stay in school or keep working hard to get your education, right? Where you gonna go, man? You a bum? No, no. Did is he? He's not wrong, right? And so that is the humbling thing, because that is why we end up with celebrities being the ones who pass messages to us, because we believe that they're on some kind of special pedestal versus yeah, sometimes the person telling you it is kind of rough. You're like, bro, I can't believe you telling me this. But that's usually like kind of our ego in the way. Like, if hey, remember we were talking about Nigerians, moms and whatever. They're like, you look fat today. They just say it, and you like, oh man, that is rough. But I'm a little chunky. You got to be like, all right, bro, maybe I need to put this fufu down, and I'll go for a walk afterwards. It does sting sometimes, or you just don't want to hear it because it is someone that you may not necessarily like, or they're not necessarily living the way that you think they should be living. And that, right, we're right back into what we were talking about. So then now we're like, well, who are you to give me advice? I totally get that, but it's the information they gave you wrong, right? And they talk about it. It's good to have enemies around because they can give you some of your best advice because they're the ones who are going to be as brutally honest with you. And so yeah, hey, Dr. Umar, when he says I don't want to do it on church land, right? I do have my reservations, my own personal reservations about doing it on somebody else's stuff, but that still needs to be explored, right? Because there still are great churches out there,
Mhm.
right? And I don't know what the business model would be with that particular church. And so it's like, okay, we don't want to, right? You, no one should give you money, right? And I told you that's, I believe it's the trade off. You don't, if you don't want to listen to what we're asked, or providing to you, you get no more funds.
Right.
That's the trade off, right? If you don't want to do it on church property, right, and you don't necessarily have to keep it on church property. You can do a lease. You can say, hey, for the next 10 years, the school is going to be there, and that's it. On the 10th year, we can renew, yada yada yada. But I can give you ability to then capitalize funds, or stack funds, so you can do something a little bit different. Also, what is it that you need? Right? You can say, I need plumbers. Well, again, where I said, put your need out, and then it's on your site, and then people from around the country can see your need. There are people who want to work, and they will travel to you.
Right.
Right. But someone needs to know that's it. And so we can share, hey, this is engaging the community. I need help here. I need help here. I need wiring here. We talk about DOD skill bridge or whatever. There's military members who's transitioning and they're black. If you only want to limit it to black, they're a host of things, right? Uh, They could be white, right? But they're coming there to work for you. This is the agreement. This is what they're going to do. If you're short on skills, there is a way to vet skills at a national level, and people will come to you because they want to work. But you got to put it out there and be transparent, saying, "Hey, I don't want to do it." Dr. Umar, I'm not going to hold it against you saying you never built the school. That's tremendous. I've never built the school, but I install wiring inside of buildings. I did project management at that level, built data centers, and I know people that blow me away and have done far more than that. They would love to bid on a contract to come and take care of something of this nature. But you got to put it out there and telling people, I don't want this help, but I don't want this help. And that's the part, right? That's where he gets kind of pushed to the side because he's saying he's not. He can say I don't want help, but he's not creating a mechanism to where he can vet the help that could potentially come to him, and that needs to be transparent.
Right. Or at least that we know of, right? Because by the time he's on the Breakfast Club or whatever this other channel is, it's not like this is the first attempt. Like these are like the thousand whatever call out. Um, However, you know where I always go back to? I always go back to his main profession. And that is, of all the videos, of all everybody has to say, of all the critiques, not nan one of these videos has anybody been able to say that his psychology information has been inaccurate. Not a one.
So just like Elon, his for Tesla, right? The shareholders and the board is getting increasingly impatient with him because they believe his other duties is taking him away from his duties as the CEO of Tesla and some of his other companies, right? Um, and hey, whatever you can say whatever you want about it, but he is building rockets that can land themselves, right? So he is in charge of companies like that. Um, can you focus on that, right? Same thing for Dr. Umar. Can you focus on the psychology, right? Because people do know it, and he does articulate that. And I think when he talks about the psychology, stick there. When he opens himself up when he starts talking about other things and advocating for other things, and his school is looming in the background. Like it detracts from the thing that, like you said, you can't say that stuff he's saying about psychology is wrong. That means he
Yeah.
needs to be saying it more often, and that probably would be far more beneficial to people versus saying I'm going to build a school. Because wherever you build a school, you haven't asked black people to move there. Like who's going to that school, right? You got a national level effort. Who's going to be going to that school? Well, right now, what he could be doing is helping out with curriculum because there's a lot of black institutions around the country that lack curriculum,
Yeah.
and so he could be focusing on that, right? But who am I to tell him that, right? Everybody's going to say, "Well, who are you?" You're right. And if you can't listen to me, you can't listen to the next person. Then you can't have our money, and you're not gonna get my clicks, right? So it's a trade off. You want me to come and share your stuff and whatever, then you got to kind of listen to what people are asking. It's not unreasonable. What you're
Right.
doing, you're distracting from the message. If you say you represent me, then I get to say so. I get to open my mouth.
Yeah. Um, when you okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. You also said it too. But I think when he talks about these other things, again, it's not like I've watched every video in the world, and I haven't watched every interview either because I don't be on the Breakfast Club like that. I don't watch it like that. But when the ones that I have seen, when he talks about side stuff, when he talks about snow bunnies, and when he talks about whatever other things you think he's given in that is outside of psychology, let's say it that way, outside of school psychology, he's being asked his opinion. That's what I have seen. Like I've seen Charlemagne and what's his dude name? They say, well, people want to know. People want to know what you have to say about this, and what do you got to say about that. What do you think about this? They're asking his opinion. It's not like he goes on these shows and just say, I want to talk about this.
Presidents have no opinion. Kings have no opinion. When a king speaks, things happen, right? They try to
Mhm.
teach. They try to teach that to commanders. Be
Yeah.
responsible in what you say, right? A commander may, like we talk about it. Commander walks into a building. He's saying hello to the troops. He says, I'm kind of thirsty," right? He says it out loud. The way that's going to be interpreted is we need to put a water fountain here ASAP, right? And they build and they go get a water fountain, they get a disapproval and they stick it there. And he never comes back to drink from there because he was only talking about himself. Well, they have to teach them that, like, when you're in certain positions, you don't necessarily like it, but you have no more opinion. Kings and presidents don't have opinions. And so when they say stuff, you're no longer like, if that camera's on, then it's national. Now,
Hmm.
someone recorded you secretly and you just talking to your people, right? Okay, that's another thing, right? But when that camera turns on, what you say has consequence, and because of what you have been doing, you built up that level. So when LeBron says something, whatever, LeBron doesn't necessarily like it, but when he does something, it's going to go viral because he's a king. And nobody likes that, but that's just it's that's it. We inherit all of that, right? You're a
Hmm.
mom. You're a mom. Nobody likes these pressures. But when you're a mom, right, you can dance wild inside your house with the family and everybody laughing. But if you record it and put it on there, then your kid's going to see that in however many years, right? And so, hey, look, Freaknik scared a lot of people. People have no idea that those videos was going to show back up. Like,
Right.
okay, you're in your private life. Private life means no camera with your people. You're not talking to millions of people. But when you're talking out loud in front of that camera, which is used to project your voice. A camera is just a megaphone. If you speak in the megaphone, you want it other people to hear.
Yeah.
And you may not like it, but you've spoken to that megaphone. So you got to get that's what comes along with it. And so you can't say, "Well, I don't like it," because if it's the thing that you wanted and it's going viral, you're all happy. But now it's negative. Now you're mad. No, bro, that instrument that you use doesn't care if it's good or bad. It's going to amplify. So if you don't want it there, it's not your opinion.
That is very much true. That is true. That's true. So that was a good. That was good. That was a good message, and that was a good segue. good. We talking. We putting this out on the airwaves. So what is it that we want people to know? So we can go ahead and wrap it up because it's been 45 minutes. So what do we want the people to get from our voices? And I'm gonna leave the last word to you. I'm gonna start with what I just want people to get is whether it is Dr. Umar Johnson, some sports person, a pop star, a religious leader, whoever it is, and even if it's your neighbor, it's all about your own mindset. Are they giving you good information? And are you going to throw the baby out with the bathwater just because this person isn't perfect? If the message is good, let the message stay and go on. We got to get out of judging people personally, get out of people's personal lives if when they're trying to deliver a good message in their information. Um, I think I'm gonna stay there before I start talking in a circle. That that's what I want. That's what I want people to get out of this.
Hmm. Uh, I like to go local to national, not the other way around, national to local. I There are probably great people within your community who are doing amazing stuff, and I say, hey, go seek them out and support them. Right? That's local. And sometimes we get super focused on what's going on nationally, and that draws us away from focusing on good quality people, whoever they may be. Go find them and go support them.
Yep. And with that, that's all we have. Got no more outro video. So take care of yourselves and each other. And just know that you are loved. You're here for a purpose. Take care. We are out.